came out of the struggle of African people throughout the world. And Brother Kwame, he wrote a book called Revolutionary Warfare, in which he laid out a plan for African liberation as part of a contribution to worldwide revolution. He called for the building of the All-African Committee for Political Coordination. This body is made up of leadership of all the African liberation movements throughout the world. And what this body does is coordinate the struggle of our people throughout the world. Now, we have what we call brother-sister organizations. These are all the Pan-African revolutionary parties who want to merge with us and become one and be part of this AACPC. Now, what I wanted to do was to run a statement down to you from one of our brother-sister organizations. The name of the organization is called DSCF1634. This organization is based in Senegal, West Africa. We also have brother-sister relationship with the PAIGC, which was led by the great Amilcar Cabral. PAIGC stands for the Parti Africaine Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde. That's in French. We also have brother-sister relationship with the People's Democratic Party of Guinea, the PDG, the BCM, Asamo of Azania, South Africa. We also are merging with the Pan-African organization that is in Sierra Leone. And so what we hope to do is to merge with all these organizations to begin the building of the All-African Committee for Political Coordination. So what I did was I got a statement from Jeff Mann, and what I want to do is read it to you very quickly, and then we'll proceed on. This statement comes from the General Secretary of the African Party for the Democratic and Socialists in Senegal. This homage was in the issue of the most credible newspaper in Senegal, Le Sud Quotidien. I can't pronounce that well, it's in French. The homage to Kwame Ture, who died on November 15th in Conakry. 30 years ago, during the student struggle in Paris, the name of Stokely Carmichael, Huey Newton, Eldridge Cleaver, and many others of crying out against racism, these anti-racist militants, black men, dignified and brought about social progress. Thinking about these years, for me, is also to remember another martyr of the same struggle, and was concerned about the black American struggle. I never thought one day I would be a close friend with the man who chose to be named Kwame Ture. Last time he came to visit us at Gibraltar, I remember our last visitation. While we were eating an African favorite meal called kalomu with kosher, I believe it is, which he loved it. Yes, Kwame was an authentic African who was profoundly Africanist. 2 years ago, I met him in Harlem, when we did have a meeting to welcome Winnie Mandela. In this meeting, he was proud to wear his African clothes in the USA. I heard his powerful voice, even when he was struggling with the incurable disease. He is continuing his avocation as a revolutionary. He chose to heal himself between Cuba, Conakry, and Dakar, where the Professor Ture followed the disease. He has chosen to die in the African land of Guinea-Conakry, and it was a painful thing for me when his friends from New York informed me a few days before he passed away that he is in a terminal phase. Stokely Carmichael was known as an Afro-American militant, and I want here to witness the Africanity, his great personality, and his open mind. Kwame, brother of Africa, thank you for giving us a good example of love and to believe in our African party in the motherland. You still remain, for everyone who knows you, a living symbol of our struggle for the dignity and the progress and justice. We hope you have a good rest in the African lands of Guinea, and our ancestors welcome you with the same love that you have gave to our martyred continent. God, the merciful, gives you his life in the paradise. Landi Rabane. That's a statement from the General Secretary of Japan's Revolutionary Party in Senegal. Now, we're going to move on and we're going to have statements from significant elders and alliance and coalition groups. The next speaker we will have is a longtime friend of Kwame Ture. He knew Kwame at Howard University, and he's worked with Kwame on his lecture tour. We had him together at the University of Toledo a few years ago. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to this African. He's been a freedom fighter here in Cleveland for a long time. You may know him by the fact that he sells a vibration. He's been a consistent freedom fighter for years, lifelong. I want you to give Don Freeman a warm welcome. Come on, Don.
Pray to the Creator of the universe to bestow upon me the wherewithal to speak to you in the revolutionary spirit of my brother, Kwame Ture, who I was first blessed by the Creator to meet in late July of 1962 on the Lower East Side, what is known as the East Village of the Big Apple, New York City. Obviously, at that time, Kwame had completed, to the best of my recollection, his sophomore year at Howard University. And therefore, at that time, was actively involved in what was popularly known as the Civil Rights Struggle. By having met him early in his evolution, ultimately to become one of the foremost revolutionaries of African descent of our time. I was blessed with the opportunity to witness his significant evolution as a revolutionary. We were blessed by the Creator to rendezvous again in Cleveland in 1966, shortly after he had declared and thereby enunciated that our struggle must become a struggle for black power. The key is to understand what black power ultimately came to mean in terms of not only what our beloved brother Kwame Ture taught the rest of his life, but in revolutionary terms, what he walked as well. For the talk that he walked, true, genuine, uncompromised, Pan-African revolution, very in these times have walked the revolution which is my way of stressing that our beloved brother, Kwame Ture, now with our ancestors, was true in terms of the path he walked, a long distance run, in the revolution, to make a revolution, to ultimately achieve the total liberation of all people of African descent throughout the diaspora. It is therefore important for me to stress, given that he was a personification of such a rare breed of people of African descent, truly revolutionaries. I stand before you with a sense of loss relative to the past, transition and transcendence of one of the few truly revolutionaries of African descent who still kept the revolutionary faith and continued the revolutionary struggle in these ultra-counter-revolutionary times. I therefore consider it extremely important to close my brief eulogy by, in the terms that I define as salat, prayer action, pray, that we all leave here, leave this room, this night, with a greater commitment to continue the struggle. Keep the faith and continue the struggle to which Kwame Ture committed his life, and thereby, by example, inspire the generation of people of African descent coming of age as we move into a new millennium, thereby assuring that not only will Kwame Ture live and his revolutionary spirit live, but as in our African-American anthem, we will ultimately march on till victory is won in the new millennium. Thank you.
Yes, Kwame Ture was a true revolutionary, and as we said before, he had our party, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, engaged in relationships with many different revolutionary organizations. In fact, I would like for you to do is to look up Kwame's website. He has a website, and it should be just Kwame Ture, and look at the number of different organizations around the world that send their condolences. Like, for example, the Irish Republican movement, they send condolences to Kwame, and you can even see the conversations back and forth between members of our organization and people with the Irish Republican movement, Revolutionary Cuban Communist Party, etc., etc., etc. So look up Kwame's website, and you can get all this information. Next, what we want to do is to have a speaker come up, and this speaker is very important to us because when Kwame was elected the head of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in in 1965, I believe it was, or 66, his first assignment was to go and visit the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That was his very first assignment. And it's in our obituary that we gave to everybody how Elijah Muhammad told Kwame that, brother, they're going to come get you. Kwame told us all the time. And Kwame said, no, I don't need no protection or anything. But he said, brother, I ain't asking you, I'm telling you. What he did was he ordered the Fruit of Islam to protect Kwame Ture wherever he went in the world. Wherever he went in the world. We're very grateful for that, for the Nation of Islam. So our next speaker is a representative of the Nation of Islam here at Boston 18 in Cleveland, Ohio, the Honorable Minister Richard Muhammad.
I'm also the name of Allah and the next I bear witness that there is no God to Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. It gives us great honor and pleasure and a privilege to greet you in the nation of peace and paradise. To all of the dignified and members of the panel, we are most honored, but we thank you for inviting us to be a part of what we consider to be a most important meeting. Real briefly, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has pointed out to us that what the Quran says, which is the book of scripture of the Muslims, speak not of those who die or are slain in the way of Allah as dead. Nay, they are alive, but you perceive not. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan has said to us that Kwame Ture lived. He lived in the hearts and minds of all of us who were blessed to be touched by his life. He lived in the principles upon which he built his life. Here locally, we can make all of this mean something if we honestly, sincerely, all of us, who struggle on behalf of our people here in the city of Cleveland. There's a saying in Chicago that all politics is local. Well, the revolution has to become localized. Locally, we as leaders, and I use that term loosely, because none of us are really leaders. We're all followers of those who've gone before us. And so as followers and helpers in the cause of what we call revolution, to get our people freedom, justice, and equality, we must understand that Brother Kwame Ture can truly never die. But he dies in us if we forget the principles upon which the man built his life. He dies in us if you're a Christian or a Muslim and we don't understand that we are members of, look at the name, the all. The first name in the name is all African. We're all African. And so I struggle as a follower of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. You work as a member of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. Someone else works in your way. You work in the church. You work in the Rastafari. But however we work, we must remember that we are part of that all. We all labor in this cause. I was not blessed to know Brother Kwame Ture. But when I heard that he had passed away, I shed tears. Because he is my big brother, my ancestor, going on before me. I'm blessed to have something in common that links between us. In that my mother, like his, was from the tiny island of Trinidad. And so I looked at my big brother going ahead and I said, well, I'm just getting started. But he has paved the way for me. And now as I'm just getting in the movement and getting in the struggle, I have an example before me. Not just my leader and teacher, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, but look, I have my big brother, Kwame, who went about it in another way. But he didn't do his job. He did his work, and his life and his legacy and his history is there for all of us to take a look at and measure our lives by his life. Measure our accomplishment by his accomplishment. And measure, most of all, our commitment by his commitment. Because he has been at this for 50 years. He has been at this until the day he died. Until the day he died, he was saying, ready for the revolution. And so we, as the Nation of Islam here in the city of Cleveland, we want you to know we stand ready, willing, able, and committed Muslim must work for freedom, justice, and equality. And as a Muslim, I cannot, in good faith, see anybody working on behalf of our people and not refer to you as my brother or my sister in the struggle. So with that, we thank you again for allowing us these few words, and we ask that Allah would bless our brother and receive and bless all of us who struggle in that way. Thank you for listening, and may Allah bless you. Thank you. I was telling brother that please pardon us, we must run. I have to go to another speaking engagement, but I don't want you to think that we're leaving out because we're not down like the brother. All right? Thank you again.
And thank you, Mr. Richard Muhammad. We're here to celebrate the life of Kwame Ture. And when you talk about Kwame Ture, you must talk about the All-African People's Revolutionary Party and what we stood for. Our party, of course, is a Pan-Africanist party, and we define Pan-Africanism as the total liberation and unification of Africa under United Socialist Africa. Kwame Ture moved to Guinea in West Africa, and he joined with Kwame Nkrumah and Sekou Touré to begin to build this process as a member of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. Now, in our party, we understand that culture is very important to the revolution. We understand clearly that any revolution must be a cultural one. Any revolution must use its cultural instruments to organize the people. Any revolution must clearly understand that culture is the container of our people's motivation, our people's ideology. In our organization, we study our people's culture. We practice our culture, we study our history, so that we can be able to use these tools to further organize and liberate African people the world over. Now, what we want to do is we're going to invite our next cultural performing artist down to show us a little bit of African culture. This next group does African culture and specializes in some cultural attributes from the country called Guinea in West Africa, in which Kwame Ture resided for the last 30 years of his life, since 1969, and where our party, the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, was originally based. So, our next act, the group is called Omawale Afrique. This group is very adept at being able to convey our culture here in the United States. And this group has learned a lot about our culture that exists in Africa. Because see, they know that we're Africans no matter where we at. We're Africans no matter where we at in the world, and we can do anything that Africans can do anywhere else. It's just a matter of learning and practicing, etc., etc. So while the group is getting together, I want to make a couple more announcements, if I may. Sister Ju. After this program is over, there's going to be a little reggae occurring at the Rhythm Room on Cedar and Taylor. That's in Cleveland Heights, in case you don't know where it is. Cleveland Heights. We have a few problems in Cleveland Heights sometimes. Those of us who live in Cleveland know about that. But anyway, if you enjoy reggae music, if you enjoy African music in general,